Hi everyone, welcome back into the studio. We're continuing some of our quick studies here where I'm painting some flowers today, but I'll be doing it with landscapes and everything else. Same thing, this is an 11 by 14 board. I gave it a coat of the Canvas Prep Medium, sanded it with 180 grit. You can see some of the other ones that I've done back there. This is the end of the day. I love to do this when using up my colors and just try things, try different color combinations, brush movements, and a quick painting of roses, flowers, sometimes flowers. I do all different kinds of stuff. But I thought I'd just film some of these that I do. I do this all the time, but I thought I would film some of these so you guys can see what it is I do and see whether or not it works. Okay. All right. So we have my colors down here, my list of all the colors and everything, just like everything else. I put it in the video description below. Okay. And these are colors I used before here. Let's, before I was adding extender, let's just take some water, loosen up. We'll take some blues. Here, let me just do this so I don't contaminate too much of my color. Now, this little bit of paint that I squirted out here, I've painted 5 paintings with it so far. So it doesn't, you know, a lot of people think, oh, you're wasting paint and stuff. No, it doesn't. I don't waste paint. I, use it for all different kinds of stuff. But okay, so we got that. Let's take this a little bit warmer with some burnt sienna, some blue, some violet, some burnt sienna. And I'm not going to contaminate that white too much. So I got myself a brand new tube of white. You have to remove that foil seal here on the top here. And there we go. Sometimes it's a little difficult. Let's put that out. Instead of using a putty color like I did on the last one, we'll use kind of a real cool, let's go a little bit more violet here. Purples and stuff are always really popular. Let's take this, and we're going to use this. We'll add some water. Water will be different, will feel different in the painting here. And it's thinner, it's slippery, it's beautiful. So I love that purple coming off there. Let's also come in here and warm some of this. One of the things I like to do is warm burnt siennas and greens. We'll pinch wipe some of this color off of the brush. We'll grab some of this and push. Oh, see, I love the warm cool of that. There's so much you could do with that, as an artist, there's a lot you can do with those warm cools. Let's pull some of this out and keep some of the greens and stuff coming out. So what I imagine is, the design falling down here, but this is leaves and other things coming down here, off of the composition that I'm painting. So that's going to be too much movement now with that big brush. So I'll rinse it, put it aside. Let's go with my 3/4 inch here. I'm going to add some more movements here, I think. I don't always know. We're trying things. We experiment, right? So I'll add the vein line, the stem line in there. I like that. Sometimes I cross it, right? So I'm thinking, okay, my flowers and stuff will come up here. Maybe some heavier color. Thinking about other things coming out here, like little leaves and stuff coming out. Like maybe those will be the impressions of leaves. Maybe we do one smaller like a bud. Another one coming out like this, right up towards a rose or something, right up here. Off of that, think about maybe another idea of maybe that's a idea. These is impressionism, right? So maybe these are ideas of leaves and stuff coming off of those, right? And we could do all kinds of things coming off of here. Let's just keep this right here. So maybe one rose, maybe one rosebud. That sounds kind of cool, huh? But we could put lights and stuff up here too. So there's still a lot more we could do with this painting. Maybe pull some of this down just a bit more. I love the fracturing of the color. That's what I call that right there. Okay, so now, we got this. We've got this in here. We could do whites into some soft colors of whites and yellows, but yellows would be really pretty because it would be almost a complementary scheme. So let's stay with that maybe. Let's do it a little different. So I haven't done this in a while. Let's base in with a light yellow. So we'll come right in here. This will be our rosebud. So we'll base in an oval shape here for the rosebud right there, right? A little bit, I don't want to touch that up there. So maybe right out here will be a petal or something coming off. But our rosebud would be right here, right? Boom, right in there. That's coming off of that line. And then way up to the top, right up here, this would be our rose coming off. Let's pull it down just a bit more. This would be our rose right here. Rose and rosebud right there. Yeah, okay, so a little bit more yellow here. Let's go a little bit lighter yellow. Let's get a little Hansa into that and some white. Let's get some lighter yellow right up here. So you see that yellow plays really well against that blue and stuff, that cooler color. It's different, right? What are we doing with this? Different. Let's get some of that brighter yellow into our rosebud here. Right? Let's go yellow to violet. I love that type of rose, but maybe some burnt sienna in it so that it's not quite so cool. Let's quinacridone and burnt sienna, about 1 to 1, just almost equal with that. And so we'll push this up around. We'll turn this. We'll carry some of that down lower so that it rose looks like it's kind of falling down onto this side here. And then light right up onto the other side there. That would be nice. Let's take some of this burnt sienna, quinacridone, right into the center of the rosebud here. And then we'll put a few marks further out to kind of open it up, maybe a little bit down onto the bottom there. Right, and up along where that petal will go in. I love the casual. That's the impressionism that I just really love. Yeah, I want to go there. I want to paint. I'm painting the boards bigger. These are 11 by 14. I've told you in the other videos, everything. And that's where I want to go. I want to go to these, but I want to have more background, more stuff going on, trying different things, different looks. I'm always experimenting. That's what I always do. So I put that heavy mark, run a few smaller marks out. Let's build the heavy mark of the color here for the bowl of that rose. Let's take some of that heavy yellow and white. We'll come out here and bring in that petal here. So I stroke it and then I lift the pressure as I walk around the rose there, so that it gets softer. Let's put some of this right out into the front here. Softening it out. That's pretty. Right there. And a little more yellow right across here. Softer yellow. Let that yellow start to fade away a little bit. Hansa Yellow a little. I didn't use too much Diarylide in there. I could use a little bit of Diarylide. Just as a difference. Let's put this towards the back here, a little bit different. Gives a different look to it. Here. Pull some of these in, petals in. Here. All right, like that. Softer. We can blur those in a little bit. Can't blur too much because we didn't add extender this time. So the blue dries up pretty quickly because it's water. But then that helps with the yellow. I always remember that. So if I'm painting, because see, if I paint a light yellow into that blue and the blue is really wet, that light yellow is going to go green and stuff. So it was kind of a call by accident. I forgot about that. But that's why that's not mixing up real well, is because the blue's already drying because I used water instead of the other extender. Got a little flies back again. here. And so I'll just put in a couple of marks there. I like that. Sometimes if I'll tone down the mark against the edge of the rose like that. So I'll tone that down. So I'll pull some of this quinacridone, some of this diarylide right here against that side, softening it out. Let's take just a bit of that right back here, round that up a bit. Gives it a look of some petals, some stuff going on in there. A little bit more in here. Bit of that burnt sienna. I love that burnt sienna right in there coming out of that. So some of that burnt sienna right in there, right? Boom, like that, right? Good. And let's take some yellow, some Hansa, some whites. Let's build a lighter secondary color right here. Boom, like that. So this inside there's a little darker than the outside here. Right like that. Let's just soften that. Now sometimes I just take my finger and I'll push it up like that to restate the bull shadow there. And then I'll pull another petal right in there like that. That's kind of pretty, a little different. I try, sometimes I have favorite ways to stroke it, but I try to do stuff a little different. And so we'll just stroke a little lighter one. I can always take a little Diarylide. That Diarylide's working really nice back here. Send this one a little further back with some Diarylide. That's pretty. Let's send a little bit of Diarylide right on this one too, because it'll tone it down just a bit. Gives it more yellow, but it's not as light, so it doesn't compete with the front of this other rose. With the front of these other petals here. Just like that, see? Okay, and that works really well. I might want to take just a touch of that Diarylide right in there. And if I go to the back, I'll add some extender to it here to keep it kind of transparent right there. And then we'll find our wet spot of our quinacridone. Kind of stroke that around a bit. That works nice. Let's take some of that Diarylide right here, maybe a touch of that quinacridone, and just open that up a bit. A bit of this into the shadows here. I like that, right? And yeah, so Hansa Yellow and the white, I'm really liking that. Hansa Yellow, white, a little bit of yellow oxide here, and my squeaky chair. I promise I'll fix it for the next one. I've put up all evening here with that squeaky chair. And here, put in some light. Just soften that right there. That's kind of neat. And some of that light right there. There, like that. That's good. Maybe a bit more light, heavier light. Here across the front. There. That looks kind of nice. Maybe a petal edging technique on the second one here. So I'll leave just a touch of that Diarylide back there. It's hard to see, but that worked out. Let's put a little more Diarylide into this, coming around the corner here. So we'll get some movement here, but I want that really casual over there. I don't want that much over here. Maybe just a mark or two here. Right like that. Just some movement marks here. Right like that. I want it mostly to fade away. Let's go to our yellow oxide here. And yellow oxide's a little more opaque, so I know it'll stand up on top of that dark a bit there. And but boy, I like the simplicity of that here. Let's just keep that going, really simplistic. So sometimes I'll pull down like that. Pull more down instead of across here. Instead of across. across it, and we'll drop that into that bowl right there. Yeah, so that's different. Let's put in one more, maybe light mark right up here. Yeah, just a different. Let's take some of our yellow, a little burnt sienna, just a soft little bowl shadow type color, and just paint in there for a minute. Right in there, just to get some movement. That's, you know, especially when I start to get more impressionistic, I look for movement more than marks to make petals or anything like that. I look for movement. But I could come back and just say, here's a light little tip there, and say there's a petal. But then we're going to let it mostly movement here on the side. So I'm going to take some burnt sienna, a little bit of our base stuff. Let's take some yellow with that, and let's just paint out here for some softer movement here. Push in, pull out, pull that color in, let that blurry edge kind of take over here on this side here. Right like that. Let that rose just kind of, see, I like that kind of jetting out right there. Looks like it's jetting out of this there like that. I kind of like that whole feeling coming off on that side. Now this, I could take just a touch of this softer violet and just deepen this side of the rose. This will make it feel like it drops down a bit. So I widen it out, the shadow down here, and see how it kind of rocks the rose dropping down that side. Let's get a little more burnt sienna and a little more red violet and drop it down this side a little bit more. There we go. Let's get rid of some of that right there. That really drops it down, and we can give a little bit of that color in here on this shadow side right down here. Pull that out right there. That looks pretty neat. So that whole side of the rose really compresses down. I just touched water, and I didn't mean to. If you see, everything's so wet, so if I touch water, water's a solvent, it'll pull a hole. So I'll put some extender back into that. Wipe my brush real quick. You got to be careful when you're painting these techniques. You know, only add water when you see me saying to add water, because water is a solvent, and you have to be careful with it. So, so I'll go back, I'll add some extender, get the water out of my brush, so I don't have any problems when I come in here to like put this edge up on that little petal there. And so I load this for the petal edging technique, and I'll drop that right in there, right in there. Get that lacy little petal edge that I like to do on some of my roses. Here, just like that. That looks pretty good. Let's take some of our Diarylide, some light, and let's just add a mark or two right into here. We're going to paint a very simplistic little rosebud here. So very simplistic. And pull back. And a little bit of light up onto the front here, keeping this one very understated here. A little lighter, lighter, smaller, right? Good rules. Lighter, smaller. Let's put a tiny little bit. I don't want to encroach too much on that leaf because I like it. So just a little bit there. Maybe a tiny bit of it here. Back here. And I like that. That's very different. Now, color movement. So now, you know, since we have all of this very impressionism, and so we're dropping this down, we might just think of some color movement here to move our yellows. See how that mark quickly moves your yellows? And we'll add just a few marks of this, yellows and stuff around, that will do the movement of the rest of the yellows for us. So yeah, I like that. So that crossing mark there in Impressionism, that breaks the entire power of that dropping mark that I had there. So we just broke that, so that's good, so that works. But maybe a little bit of burnt sienna in this to soften that out a bit here. There we go. So it's not quite so see, I put back in the crossing, so it takes a little bit of its power away. And you go back and forth, and that's what Impressionist does. It'll go back and forth to soften some of those effects till they get the color movement effect that they like. So that's what we do right there, like that. Let's just drag that one down just a little bit more, like that. Yeah, that's different. I like it. You could, like I did with some of the others, we could take a lighter color and push into the, like some of the back. You could take some of the back, burnt sienna and green like this, a little bit of water. You could do a little negative paint like this to draw up, or bring an edge up and forward. That's all a personal choice. So I will do it a little bit right here. And if I step off the edge here, if I step off a little bit, it gives it more of a transparent edge to the flower, which I like to do sometimes as well. So, but that'll get you going there. So there you go. There's another very different, very different impressionistic look to your paintings. I'm going to put some of that back. I think. Oh, that I like. Nothing like a paper towel. All right. There you guys go. Okay. Hope you enjoyed it. That was a quick little one. Okay. Hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to click like on the video. That helps us out a lot. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Check the video description for all the links for all the paints and what I get everything. Okay. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye-bye.